you also don't fully belong here. So you're kind of in a limbo where you don't fully belong nowhere, and you just kind of want to belong. When I wrote scripts like that, they felt empty. I don't know, it feels that you spend a lot of time alone. But I like when an actor is kind of aware, he kind of detects your intention and he goes, okay, I'll crank it up.
Hello, welcome again to Creating with Purpose. Today we are with Pablo. Welcome. And I'm so excited to talk to you. I have read a lot of your scripts. I want to say that Gerardo is a fan of yours.
Oh,
Gerardo, he helps us a lot. He supports us. Without Gerardo, Create with Purpose wouldn't exist. And he's also an actor. And every time he gets like one of your scripts, he's always saying, man, the writing is so good. And as actors, I think we realize that because it's like when we receive a script, it's like our tool because that's when we discover characters. And what I have found is that your characters, like your way of writing, your characters are like so complex, and that's why actors learn to portray it. I want to ask about that. Like, when did you start writing?
So first I started as an actor in Mexico. It's a weird transition. I started in theater. I had like a drama teacher in high school. Then she had like her own independent theater company. And then she gathered us and some other students to like be actors for her. And that was fun. Then when was it? Like 2019? No, 2018. 2018, honestly, we didn't have anything for the school year to present at the end. So one time she comes to class and she goes like, hey guys, we don't have anything to present. So I'll write anything. Back in that time, I really wasn't really into writing. My first aspiration back then was I want to be an actor. But I said like, you know what? Fuck it, let's write something. I remembered I spent the other classes like writing on a piece of like script on a piece of paper. I then on theater because it was like as after school hours I delivered to her, and I don't even remember what it was, but it was like kind of dramatic. And she just goes like, "Oh, this is cool. Let's put it into format and then like let's put it." So we ended up doing the show. My thing got presented, and at the end of the year, she ended up like, "Hey, have you actually like do you want to keep writing? I want to like keep you as a writer for the theater company." And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure."
How old were you?
I was 17, 18. I was like almost near the end of high school. Then high school ends, but we kind of want to keep the company running. Unfortunately, high school ended right on COVID. But we still wanted to like do something. I remember we did like this weird concept of like a Zoom place.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I didn't like writing for it, but I tried my best. I wrote this is like for Mexican people, there's this event like the conspiracy of, so when Mexico got independent, there's like these historical figures that were conspiring against Spain. And there's like a meeting that's like an event the night when they decide that they need to like finally rebel against Spain. So we made it like what if instead of like an actual meeting, it's a meeting on Zoom. It was a comedy. It was all right, I
I
guess.
have a question regarding to that because, well, you wrote like you were talking about how different is writing. So, how different is writing for camera and theater?
It's I especially now I actually studied the screenwriting. I realized it's really different. At the beginning, when I was like starting as a writer, I kind of thought, okay, at the end of the day, it's the audience looking at them, so maybe they're like sort of like they're not that different. They're very different. Something I've noticed is that on camera, you have a deeper look at people's emotions, mostly through body language, through the look, through a lot of tiny details that it's it's for me it's even more complex to write for camera. Not that I say that it's not complex writing for theater, but I think each medium has like their own pros and cons. And my pro for camera is that I have like this kind of room to show what a character is thinking besides like what they're saying. A research I love to do is every time I finish like a first draft, I go through the lines, but with the mindset of like, how can I say this? How can I make the character say this without even speaking? And the camera gives me that. I can like always do a close up on an extreme close up on the eyes, like focus like a handshake and something. I think that's like a perk of writing for camera. For theater, at least the way I write theater more for plot. Obviously, characters are always important to have like complex characters. But for me, if I write a play, because I'm actually like being rewriting some plays that I wrote some time ago, focus more on like a plot. But when it's for camera, I like to focus more on characters, or at least my characters make the plot, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's how I started writing. Eventually, like chose. I was in Mexico. I was actually gonna study law. It was something funny, because in Mexico, like there's support for filmmakers, but not a lot. Like there's a certain, not nepotism, but there's at least like it's harder to get a chance in the film industry.
You have to know something.
Exactly. So and like education, especially I come from a small town like southeast from Mexico City, so it's even harder to find education there. So I obviously wanted to like study abroad when I realized that I kind of didn't have like that opportunity in Mexico. I was actually gonna go to Vancouver Film School first. Something happened.
Most people tell us that. I was gonna go to Vancouver and
it's weird.
up in Toronto.
At least in like a spiritual sense, I think that things happen for a reason. My internet failed the day I was supposed to like send up like the application and stuff, and then when it came back, I missed the deadline, so I wasn't able to go into Vancouver Film School. And then you look film schools, the first one that shows up in Google is like, oh, Toronto Film School. I went, okay. I ended up applying. I came here, and I studied screenwriting, and
how do you end it? Well, you're telling us like your story,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
process. So I just continue with this story.
okay.
Like, how did you ended up? Because you also study production.
Yeah, so I finished screenwriting. I'm always a firm believer that you cannot be a great filmmaker if you don't know how to write a good story first. I think for me the story is the building block of a film. Your film can have the greatest visuals in the year of all, or it can have like the best technical aspect, but if your story is not good, it won't matter. On the other hand, if your script is amazing and your setup is like simple, but it works, it works to show what you need to show, there goes like a great movie. And so I had, with that in mind, I said, I think before going to all the technical aspects of filmmaking, I need to really learn how to write a story. Especially because like something I've noticed is before film school, and I think everyone kind of romanticizes the process of writing. It's like, oh, I'll get this inspiration, I'll write like a script and blah blah. There's I don't want to say rules, but there's at least like a science to it. So that's also important to learn. You need to learn structure. You need to learn certain story beats. If you're writing for genre, you need to learn certain beats that happens in specific genres that pretty much turn that movie or that script that you're writing into like a genre film or the genre that you want to be. So I think that as a screenwriter, you kind as a filmmaker, I think that you need to master that before actually going into like the technical side.
What's the thing that you focus more when you're writing?
Character. I
knew it. Ah.
For me, characters. I think you need to keep a balance between having a good plot and having good characters. But for me,
do you think that comes from like maybe starting as an actor?
Yeah, I think, and you guys as actors should know, like as actors, you kind of look for characters that are intriguing, but that are also play like a part in a good plot. You don't want to be a complex character in like a simple plot. You kind of want that kind of balance between like I'm a great character in a good plot. And with that in mind, I realized that I wanted great characters, but as I kept writing, a mistake I did as a beginner was that I would write a plot and then just put the characters in there, but then as you go on with the draft, you realize this is not going as I want, or this is going as I want, but it doesn't feel right. It just feels forced. So kind of my style nowadays is I let it sounds weird, but I let my characters write the plot. I have like like a main idea of what I want the plot to be, but then like in certain point, a character, it feels right for a character to do something else instead of what I have planned. I said like, honestly, let's try it. I think because characters are like the most memorable thing in my opinion of a film. I think even the best plots won't work if you don't have good characters, and yeah, pretty much characters are like my main focus. I have like this particular thing in my style. I like to put an extraordinary character in an ordinary situation, or the other way around, an ordinary character in an extraordinary situation. I think contrast is always interesting in film, and I kind of like portraying this way of like you're like zoned out in like a situation. You're like standing out in either the craziest situation or in the most boring situation. So that's interesting. It's interesting playing with like a boring character or an interesting character, but always in like out of their depth.
Yeah. I don't know how much I can talk about like your script, but I seen that you also deep a lot into the mental aspect
Yeah.
and about like yeah, I don't know how much I can talk about your characters, but for example, I know you made Leski's script based on Alice in Wonderland and with what the Terran and plus with obsessive compulsive disorder.
Yeah.
And you play a lot with that, right? Like with
Yeah.
the psychology of the characters. How is the process of like coming out with the idea?
So for that script in particular, Alice in Wonderland is pretty much one of my favorite books ever. And there's been like a lot of adaptations in like but taken directly from the book. There's like the Disney one, well both are from Disney, but like there's the classic one, the animated one, then you have Tim Burton's one. And they're good, but when I want to adapt something like that, I like just taking the main ideas but like turning them into something different. I for Wonderland for yeah, I think that was the name of that script. For Wonderland, I kind of thought, okay, what if I don't remember what I watched recently, but I had like this idea of like a psychiatric ward, like a psychiatric hospital. So it was like, what if we just put those characters in like a psychiatric hospital and like put it in that sense. I think that a setting kind of gives you power to delve more explicitly into a character's mindset, into a character's mental issues. And I like that script and I like the mental aspect of my characters because it gives you a door to. I'm a big believer that everyone puts on a mask on its daily basis. Like we all have problems, we all have our, let's call it them, demons that we kind of fight that every day. But you kind of need to go outside. You need to go to work. You need to go to grocery shopping. You need to go to school. So you put on a mask, and that mask ends up being like a shell that you only certain things can like break it open and kind of let people see inside. So, but in a psychiatric hospital, like that cocoon is broken. Like literally, you're there because they need to see inside you. So, I I like writing characters who are different from who they are portraying. I have a character for my thesis film. He's kind of like this hardened detective. He's like distanced from his job, from his work apparently, but deep inside he's broken because his personal life got mixed with his job, with his work. So now he kind of has this duel between like, yeah, I really need to distance myself from the cases I investigate, but at the same time, one of those cases is close to home. So how can I do that?
Yeah.
And he still like he's like still like a this hard detective, like really serious, but on the inside, the guy's broken as well. Especially because the plot of the film, spoiler alert, he needs to reopen that case. So once again, he's kind of this broken guy in the inside trying to like hold that thing together. Now having to like open and see like I need to bring this injury back again. I need to open it again. So yeah, as I say, I think I like seeing the deep, like not the deep mind, but I like to see my characters be like under their masks. I guess that's the way I would phrase it.
Also, I saw that you made a script based on your grandma.
Yeah, so that's a short thing I like to do. I haven't done it recently, but on my Instagram I like to write little scenes. It's my way of like, for I know that some people write poems, some people write like, I love people who write haikus, these like Japanese poems where have like certain syllables and
Oh yeah.
I tried to write one, not gonna lie, I failed. I wasn't able to, but these little scenes for me are like a way to talk about something, or at least put on paper something I'm feeling. That's my, not an outlet, but that's like a way I can turn my art a little bit more personal. I really never intend to make those scenes a reality. I don't want to film them, but it's my way to just put something on paper, and something, it's something that I feel. My grandma, she passed away shortly after I came here to Canada, and she was, I think, the most supportive person of my film aspirations. She knew that I wanted to be a filmmaker since I was like very young. I always talked about like, I want to make movies. If I made this movie, I would make it this way, blah blah, blah. I would talk with her about that, and she would always be like, "Oh yeah, then you're gonna be a movie maker when you grow up." And when I finally like, unfortunately, when I was like about to come here, she was like already losing her memory, so we couldn't remember that much. And unfortunately, when I left, I couldn't say goodbye to her, mostly because of her health. So you know, the news hit when you're like there, but for a weird reason, I didn't like. Obviously, you feel pain, you feel sadness, but I wasn't like really devastated when I first heard the news. But then a year later comes the anniversary, and for a reason, is in that moment where
Yeah.
I break. I finally break, and I'm like, I didn't cry about my grandma like until the year after, and I was like, what? So I really wanted to do something for her. I wanted to like put something somewhere about her. And when she was young, or she would tell me that when she was young, she wanted to be an actress as well. She grew up near like a famous cinema in Mexico City. It was like a theater slash movie theater. I forgot the name. It's abandoned right now, but she grew up like on that same street, so she would always see that. Oh, it. If you guys have watched Roma, Alfonso Cuarón Roma, is that the movie theater they go to? It's that movie theater. She was like, she lived near. So she watched shows there. She watched movies, and she ended up saying like, I wanted to be a performer. Things happen, so that never became a reality, but that that thing kind of remained with me, and I think that script is about her waiting for me, like, as a performer, and I think it's a good thing. I write those scenes to kind of, as I say, put something in film on paper, because I think that's a great
It's
way.
very cathartic. Yeah, I feel that art is like that.
It's, oh yeah,
Do
sorry.
you feel that art has to be personal?
Yeah, I I feel that if, as a writer or as an artist in general, you don't put part of yourself in your scripts, or in your filmmaking, or in general whatever art form you practice, it will never be as genuine. I This is a mistake I made as well as a screenwriter. I said, and I have nothing against what they teach in film school, but something I never agree with that much is when they say, and obviously you kind of need to find a balance. I go, you still need to like eat. So they say you need to make your stories like, you need to see how marketable your stories are. So when you have that mindset, you kind of stop. You say, yeah, I won't put that inside. I just need to put something that sells, or something that's like, that it may be popular. But when I wrote scripts like that, they felt empty. They felt not genuine, and that's not something I would like to put out. So I think that art, the best art at least, it's personal. You can see the artist's feelings, or something the artist want to say on their art, and that's compelling, because you're pretty much seeing other person's experiences through their art, and I think it's important. That's why I think the movies we relate to the most are movies that are like personal for the filmmaker, that they have an element of like a soul. The soul of the filmmaker is in there. And yeah, I think that to a certain level you need to put a lot of personal stuff, at least for a story to feel genuine.
What is the character that you relate the most that you have written?
Oof. um Ooh, that's a great question. I think none of them are explicitly me. I hate self-inserting myself in a character, but I like putting pieces of myself in a character. For me, I guess this is a script that I haven't made yet, but I'm writing like a western. I think so. Kind of my goal in the film industry is that my first feature film is a western. I love westerns; it's my favorite genre. And in that western, the main character is like a geologist. It sounds super weird. He's a geologist. They hire him to like figure out if like a piece of gold is like an actual gold. But he's kind of like this shy person who like just goes and do the he wants to be there and do the job. But as long as more people he meets in that town, he realizes that he likes it there, but he does not belong nowhere. Like he goes from city to city doing his work. And he wants to settle down but belong to some place. I guess that me as a foreigner, the
That's the feeling
yeah,
that you belong to know.
there was a script I wrote when I first went to the screenwriting program. It was called Strangeland City. It like the name comes from like stranger in a strange land. So the main goal of that script was to show a character who like he doesn't longer belong where he comes from, because when you leave the place you come from, your spot is not still there. Things will adapt, and now everyone's lives adapted to your absence. But you also haven't spent that much time here, so you also don't fully belong here. So you're kind of in a limbo where you don't fully belong nowhere, and you just kind of want to belong. And I guess that's the character that I relate the most. I think it's human to
Yeah.
belong somewhere. The feeling, the urge to belong somewhere, and especially like with this experience of like moving from Mexico and coming to another country. I guess that's the character I relate the most.
Wow. Yeah. No, I totally feel that. And yeah, that's a very human feeling, totally. Wow. And writing is I feel it's a very long process most of the time, right? Like it's a lot of time with you at your home in your writing.
Yeah.
How do you cope with the solitude?
I will say I don't, but it's interesting. You, as a writer, you kind of need to build discipline. I think for me, what has worked a lot is building a routine. I the worst. I think my worst and at the same time best scripts are born from where I don't have a routine, but that takes a toll mentally. So sometimes you come up with a great idea and you like spend all night writing, and then you keep writing and you keep writing, but I don't know. It feels that you spend a lot of time alone, so it ends up taking a toll on your mental health, and you end up like being tired, and then kind of that spike of motivation goes down, and then you're suddenly sick of the script, and you're like, you know what? I don't want to longer write this. So the way I would say it's good to cope with that solitude is don't like be obsessed with your story, but don't make that story or that script your entire life. Even if it's just for us a script that will take a month or a year. Don't rush it. You don't need to like be writing every day 24/7. I always say, and this is like a resource that every writer says, like set up a page goal. Each day, sit down for 2 hours and write 10 pages. If you finish those 10 pages before the 2 hours, stop there. And then honestly, live, be kind of try to live a normal life while keeping in mind what you're trying to write. Don't be. I wrote a script about a writer. Gerardo knows that one.
Yeah, the writers. I was like, am I able to talk about that?
Yeah, no,
Because it's very interesting.
It's that script as is actually born of like a sort of crisis I had about on that writing. That I think it's thanks to that script that I said, okay, now I need to build a routine. I need to like learn how to write without compromising other stuff, because You end up being so obsessed with like, what am I writing? If is my writing gonna be good? What are people gonna think about it? Especially when you have, I think all of us artists, to a certain extent, we will always care about what people say, but you can't let that get to you. You cannot let that be your entire mindset. And when you let that be your entire mindset, your writing becomes more obsessive, and it ends up being more a punishment than a process that you should enjoy. Obviously, it's a job at the end of the day, so you kind of need to have discipline, but that doesn't mean you don't need to enjoy it. And I guess that yeah, you just pretty much build a routine and try to give yourself space to breathe. Because if not, you will stop enjoying your writing, and therefore you pretty much lose the purpose of what you're doing.
Well, yeah, and also I feel like when you don't enjoy it, usually people also don't enjoy it as well.
Yeah, I I always say that your emotions will translate to what you're making, and that will show to the people who are watching at what you're making. So if you are writing a script with not really that much enthusiasm, I think it's evident that when people see it, they will notice that it wasn't like that enthusiastic.
How do you socialize as a writer?
It's it's interesting. I'm a really introverted person. Obviously, like once I'm trying to work on that. Honestly, find what I've noticed is try to find a common interest with someone. Especially in film school, it's about a lot about like knowing me, getting to know people.
Because sorry if I interrupt you there. I feel like in the school, like the production and the acting program would interact a lot, but the writers usually they don't have classes
Yeah,
with production, so I feel like they lack that writer that maybe they could enhance the script and
yeah. It's I. That's my only complaint of the program. It's I think the three programs, acting, film production, and writing, should be working like honestly shoulder to shoulder. Writers can always finesse a film production script. They can also help with actors can help writers understand how to write a character or like what an actor looks for in a character. And also filmmaking, the film production program can help the writer write for what can be done.
yeah.
I think that's also a rule for me. I usually write for what I can do. I was like, I won't write my thesis film be like a huge space battle unless I have money to spend on VFX.
Yeah.
But you kind of need to have elements from each program in mind, and I think that's like, as you say, what the school lacks. Because at the end of the day, the industry is a writer won't always be a director. Me personally, that's my goal. That has always been my goal, like direct my own stuff.
Okay.
But there are writers who just want to be writers. But guess what? To make a movie, that writer needs to know a director, attach a director. Like sometimes the studio can do it, but most of the times you need to bring like a more solid package. So I have this writer, he's really good, and he has also this director who's really good, and that's where I say like then find those common interests. I think at the end of the day, during film school, everyone's there for the same thing. Everyone wants to make films, so use that to your advantage. Just honestly talk movies. It sounds nerdy, but I think it's the way I've met people a lot. Just talk about movies. So yeah, that's the way I socialize. If you know any other tip, like honestly, let me know.
Please.
I'm open to advice. But yeah,
Also, well, you're now a director. You were an actor before. How is it now being like behind the camera directing your actors?
I I have this. It's part of my directing style, I guess. I don't like being like so specific with an actor. As an actor, you kind of when they give you a character, you create so many ideas, you create so many approaches, and you want to let them out. And I think for an actor, it's kind of disencouraging that someone comes and like says like, yeah, you're just gonna read this in this tone and just do this, nothing else. So I always let my actors give me a little bit of or a lot of what they want to do. I just go honestly go like, what's your approach? And I just go, give me a take with that approach. If I feel that I need to kind of redirect something, I will like just say, oh, you can like say this in this way, or give me more of this emotion. But I like when an actor because at the end of the day it's a collaborative art. The actor is also an artist. They are also storytellers. So I'm assuming I'm always saying let them tell their story. Let them tell the story they want to tell with the character you gave them. I guess that's my style as an actor. I always hated when I wasn't trapped in theater, but still, I always hated when they were like too specific. And you will step exactly in this point, and you will say this at this speed, and don't move. Don't let me do my stuff. Let me. If I have a way to say this that you want to portray in the script, let me do it. If you don't like it, we can like work on it, but don't don't kind of enclose me because then you don't want an actor. You just want an interpreter. You just want someone who spills out what you wrote, and I don't think that's good.
What do you look for on an actor when you are in the audition process?
I I guess I what I look for an actor in an actor the most is first of all passion. I you can tell on a self tape or an audition when an actor is actually excited to play the character, and I like that. Obviously, sometimes we need to like reject actors maybe for like X or Y reason, but it's always appreciated as a director, as a filmmaker, and as a writer that a person like reads their script and goes, "Shit, I want to like play this or this.
Yeah.
This seems cool," and also kind of tone awareness. I People and a lot of writers sometimes are afraid of like not making realistic characters or ultra realistic situations, but you know fiction is about that. It's fiction, so let yourself be loose. Don't be afraid of like make something that it's a little bit cartoonish. And it's great when an actor reads an intention. It's an actor is not afraid of like being cartoonish on screen or being not silly but exaggerated. I think Gerardo may have noticed already. I write a lot of exaggerated characters, not ultra exaggerated, but I want to keep a little bit of like over the top.
Down like I don't know how to say that in English. Histrionico?
Yeah, so it's like you could see that character and you would say like this is not how a normal person would act,
Yeah.
but he has elements of a normal person, so that's what makes it, in my opinion.
Memorable.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess when actors realize that you're going through that route and that you're not really being like, and obviously I don't judge people who like write realistic characters. I think we need realistic characters in film, but I like when an actor is kind of aware. He kind of detects your intention and he goes, okay, I'll crank it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I look.
I felt you would work with Johnny Depp because he has also very strong characters.
Yeah, most likely. Yeah, I have like always my dream collaborations. I would always love to work with Johnny Depp, Al Pacino. I think I like when I get a character to yell, and I think Al Pacino could yell really well. Who else? He's retired already, but I guess my dream collaboration would be Daniel Day Lewis, the guy from There Will Be Blood. Kind of the stereotype of like Oscar winning actor, screaming and yell. But I think he's a really versatile actor, and I think if I put it in the right script, it would be a great collaboration.
What is the thing you're on the proudest of?
The thing I'm the proudest of is finally being able to make the films I wanted to make. As a kid, as an actor would be when I started as an actor, it's like yeah, I'm presenting like in front of the school and then like in front of like a small theaters in my town, but that never goes past that. Like it's a day. Then as a kid, I also like made some films in high school. I also made like a little short films, kind of really amateur. But once again, it doesn't go past your inner circle, honestly. But coming here and finally being able to make the films and seeing people react to them. Not that I'm saying that I'm proud of people reacting to it, but being able to put something out there and have people react to it. I'm a big believer myself that as a filmmaker, and that's kind of the mantra I go for. Don't be afraid of like doing your art, and don't be afraid of what the audience will say. What if we don't have audiences? Audience always comes. I think kind of nature finds a way. Even the most niche films find an audience. And you see like David Lynch, he's maybe not that niche, but he's slightly niche. So he's like he was like he was just known for making weird films. Yet he has like a huge fan base. So, and if you see his movies, would have never be going against Avengers or Oppenheimer, big high concept films. But yet he found his audience. So for me, the opportunity to make films and find that audience and also work with people, I love the people I've met, cinematographers, other writers, actors, other directors. I think everyone in the crew and in the cast put their little grain of sand in the final film. And for me, it's really important to get to know like those people because you see more approaches to your film. I Something I do in every set is like if someone has an idea and I see it fit, I just go, let's try it. There was this TFS commercial we had to make like for production too. The idea was to have like a kind of orangish morning sun coming through a window, but the lights we were using weren't like really giving the impression. So my DOP said, hey, why don't we just no, it wasn't the DOP, sorry, it was the gaffer. He just said, hey, why don't we literally just don't have any other light and we just keep that orange glare coming through the window. I went, yeah, let's try it. And we tried it. It looked beautiful.
Oh.
So I went like, hey, thank you very much. And I like hearing to other people's approach. I think that's for me the magic of filmmaking, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud of like finding my people, finding the opportunity to like make those films.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Again for being here. Thank you so much for listening to us. Where can we find you? Do you have any social media? Where can we approach you?
So I have my personal Instagram, well, personal/job Instagram, Pablo Tovar. And then I have my production company. I just opened that Instagram. It's Camarón Films. So yeah, if you guys can follow me there, it would be much appreciated.
Thank you so much for listening. Have a good day. Bye.
Esto es genial.